I want to welcome you to the Pro Mindset Podcast. The Pro Mindset Podcast is all about diving into the headspace that results in championship performance. High-performing athletes, winners, have this mental flow and have a positive headspace for their performances and success. Join me, Craig Domann, sports attorney and NFL agent, on this podcast. I will interview pro athletes, college athletes, football coaches, and sports personalities. Together, we can discover how you can get in the flow and have your own pro mindset.
So today on Pro Mindset Podcast, I have a special guest, John Register. John, I want to welcome you to our show today.
Honored to be here, honored to speak to the listening audience out there and your incredible listening audience. This mindset is so dear to my heart. So thank you for having me on this show.
You are welcome. So John, start with your background, where you're from. You were obviously a collegiate athlete. Kind of share with the audience your story.
I was, like most kids, you grow up playing sports or music or whatever, you fancy. I grew up for the first 6 years of my life in St. Louis, Missouri. That's where I was born. My father, a Presbyterian minister, quickly moved the family to Oak Park, Illinois. He was kind of a civil rights advocate as well as an advocate for making sure communities weren't stacked upon each other. So he was responsible for tearing down a lot of housing projects to build community out. And then as we moved to Oak Park, that's when my sports career gained interest. So I played some hockey, I played football a little bit. Baseball really was the sport I excelled in the most. I was fast, I could hit, I could field, I could throw.
You thought you were Lou Brock?
No, I thought it was Hank Aaron.
It had to be somebody.
So it was really one of those things where I thought that was going to be my path because I could do all these things, right? Even when I got cut from the Pony League, I went down to junior Colt and wound up batting over 800, stole every base, stole home twice, threw a guy out on first base from center field. I love the game, right? And then I had one of those instances where a coach decided that I was not going to be on the baseball team in high school. And so I didn't even get a chance to try out because they said he's not going to pick me. So they already had their teams and squads already selected. And that stung so much that it kind of forced me to track and field where.
Okay, hang on, John. Hang on.
Yep.
Was that the first time in your life where you failed and perhaps you didn't understand what was happening? What do you think the reasoning was for the coach to tell you that, hey, I'm not even going to pick you, don't even try out? Well, why would he do that?
I did not know why at the time, but I did find out later two things. One, the Pony League team was pre-selected. And so the only reason why the Oak Park team had tryouts, this is my parents finally, they got to the bottom of it because they were so close to the district, was to raise money for the team to travel. So all the teams were already selected, pre-selected, so you just go through the tryouts, pay your money, and all that money was gathered together so that it would take that were selected to make sure that they could, play at the higher level. And then from the coaches got together in high school and said, well, he's fast because we saw him run in football. We saw him, do well. I wasn't a great football player, but, I could run fast and I could run the ball, right? So nobody could catch me. And I was out of bounds register. You catch the ball, you ran out of bounds. That was me. So
didn't like contact.
No, I didn't like the contact. So
okay.
Baseball is not really a great contact sport. So you just run it. So anyway, I wound up finding out later on that because I was so fast, the coaches got together and they said, okay, we heard he's going to try out for baseball. We really want to direct him to track and field because we think he'll help, the Huskies win a state championship at some point. That's why I was put over in track. After I found that out and stuff later on in life, I still never wanted anybody to have that much control over my destiny, right? I didn't want that. I wanted to be in the most control I could. And track and field, the first one across the finish line wins, right? Doesn't matter who you are.
That's correct.
And it's hard to deny that. You're either the fastest or you're not.
There's no discrimination in track.
Yeah, not a lot.
No.
We got a lot of stuff that's happening now with doping and stuff, but there's not a lot of stuff that you can do to to manipulate the outcome of a race, right? If it's fair, everybody lines up at the same start line, everybody has the same blocks, everybody is well trained, they're prepared, and it really comes down to who was coached the best and who wants it, who desires it the most. There's no official that can really take that away from you with a bad call, with a didn't see something that happened, a holding penalty that was missed. There's nothing that in track and field that really is subjective. So that's why I think I started really liking that, because I was in control of that piece of my life, at least when it came to sport.
No doubt. Okay, so after high school, you went to college.
Yep. So I won the state championship in the hurdles, 300-meter hurdles, and then I finished up, I think, for our whole entire school, so that the coaches were right. I wound up finishing up, I think it was like 9th in the state by myself for 2A in Illinois. So that attracted the attention of Arkansas. So I want to say, the kids that are out there that might be listening to the show, I wasn't a stellar student. I was really eclectic. So I think I had like a 2.0, 196 GPA right when I went. So I had to redshirt my first year at Arkansas. But I was also in music. I was in a little bit of theater. I was also played cello. I sang in choirs. And so I was really well-rounded. But the academics just wasn't, it was too confining for me, right? It was, why am I learning this information? But I got on it. I was very well prepared for college when I got to the University of Arkansas, and I excelled both academically as well as on the track. So I redshirted that first year, got my grades up, and then the second year is the 1985 year where we won the Triple Crown. So that was indoor, outdoor, and cross-country all in one season. And that was the beginning of the Arkansas dynasty. We won the national championship outdoor, or indoor outdoor, the year before in 1984. And so 1984, of course, is the Olympic year. And so we have all these Olympians and this mindset that's on the team of excellence. So Michael Conley, also from Chicago, Southside, Luther South High School. He's now a silver medalist in I think it was the triple jump that year in 84. We have Paul Donovan, who ran for Ireland. He's there. We have a lot of folks in the Southwest Conference, Carl Lewis. So you're just around excellence the entire time. There is, when you go to the Southwest Conference Track and Field Championship, you are actually looking at like the best athletes in the world. So it was a powerhouse conference, and Arkansas was winning it. So we had the best of the best. And it wasn't that we had the best athletes, we had the best attitude, I think, and the best mindset that actually helped us win those championships for the Razorbacks underneath the tutelage of John McDonald, the most winningest coach in any sport in NCAA history, right? 42 national championships. So underneath that taught me a lot that I would use later on in life.
John, let me interject.
Yes.
That was 35 years ago. 36 years ago was the Olympics in Los Angeles.
Yes.
We didn't talk about mindset back then.
No.
Today, mindset is the secret sauce. It's the difference maker. So it sets people apart. It's why guys like Tom Brady can be the GOAT at 43. But back then, what was the feeling that you had? What was the difference, maybe perhaps on the campus, on the track team, and the track meets after 84 when those guys came back?
Yeah, the mindset difference, because you're right, we weren't talking about mindset then. But the language that was used by Coach McDonald was, we might not have the best talent, we might be a whole bunch of junkyard dogs here, but if the shirt in front of you is not red, pass them. Right? That was it. And it was survival, because we did these, what we call Dead Man Fridays. And we just tried to crush each other and outdo each other on bounding across the entire Arkansas Stadium football field. And then after you bound on one leg, in the 50 yards, you bound on the other leg, and then you run up the entire Razorback Stadium, and then you hop up the stadium, you come back and you do it again. By the time you're done, I mean, it's survival of the fittest. and you're doing it because you know that in order to get to where Michael got, or to Wallace Spearman got, or to Paul Donovan, this is what they did. And you do that, and you will be the best, because they're going to demand it of you. It's like, Jordan rules, right? He's always going to push you. Michael Jordan is always going to push you to be better. He's going to be in your face, and it's challenging, and it's all the the jaw jacking and the talk. I'm going to beat you today. It was that type of environment. At the same time, I think what John did, what was so brilliant, was he kept the lid on it all. Right? It didn't spill over so much that we self-destructed or we couldn't focus that energy against another team. And he did that by making sure everybody was connected. So there was a Weddington Woods or something like that. He wanted to build a really soft running trail for our distance runners, so they didn't have to pound the concrete all the time. And so there's some trails up in the back of the University of Arkansas. They were really small. Every weekend, Saturday and Sunday, John had the entire team up there with backhoes and and saws to widen those trails out. And then we put wood chips down over a half-a-mile loop and a mile loop. And I'm like, why am I a sprinter up here, hurdler, jumper, in these woods? I mean, I think the distance runners should be up here. They need some more meat on their bones anyway. Why am I doing this? But what happened was we gelled so much and we started sharing things outside of track and field, outside of our disciplines, to start talking about families and where we grew up. And we really became a great family unit. And whether that was his intention or not, that was a byproduct. And that byproduct led us on to supporting our team as a team rather than individuals. So Arkansas track and field became a team sport, not an individual sport. And I think that was the shift that I saw from the individual thing that we say, well, I talk to a lot of physicists today, they'll say, well, track and field is such an individual sport. I said, no, it's one of the greatest team sports ever, because that's the lens I come at it from. Because it's made up of all these people with different skill sets that support each other. And that's what will make your business hum and sing and do all the things that you want it to do, because you really do come at it from all your various skill sets. It's not homogenous.
Well, it makes sense that when everyone's thinking about me instead of we, you usually don't achieve as much, whether it's an organization or a team. Take football, basketball, doesn't matter the sport. When everybody's focused on their statistics, everybody's focused on their next contract and their own publicity and their own brand, those teams don't win championships.
Not necessarily. My wife calls it all the time. I mean, she knows exactly when a team is more likely to lose. And it comes at the point where the individual starts getting on their teammates and starts to talk about a negative performance that may have just happened. In a game, in football, basketball, baseball, whatever the sport is, there's always moments of runs where a team is going to get up and another team is going to falter. And then the other team is going to get up and the other team falters. There's always these runs that happen. It happens in a race at the same time, an individual race. The difference is whether or not the dynamics of the team uplift each other during those moments or get on each other in those moments and destroy the inward working of it. My wife can peg those moments all the time. So sometimes you need that ego that's on the team, like I said, like a Michael Jordan, or you have, Michael Conley or something, those folks that are in my life, and they can get on you in such a way that actually elevates and builds you for whatever environment that you might be in. And at other times, you're right, the ego can come in and it's all about my stats. And if I don't get my stats, then, heck with the team, I need to get my bonus for next year. So all those things are at play, and the best ones are able to know that their stats are going to come because of their play with the other individuals. And I think that's what I learned the most from being at the University of Arkansas.
Well, you just described Alabama in college football, Clemson in college football,
right?
The Patriots for the last 20 years in the NFL,
right?
The guys,
San Antonio.
Tom Brady, San Antonio Spurs,
right? Spurs.
There's no question about it. So when you've got a bunch of superstars and they put the team before themselves,
right? Yeah,
so when you go back,
and I think you find that even when you look at a Michael Jordan who then teaches a LeBron. Michael Jordan couldn't get past the Pistons, and then he couldn't get past, Boston. What does he have to do? He can't do it himself. He has to make everybody else around him better. LeBron was brilliant. even though he didn't understand, the whole debacle with the team announcement going down to Miami, maybe that could have been done better. But what he learned from that was he has his whole media network now. He doesn't need anybody else because he understands now how he's building that brand out, his brand, and getting the advice from those that came before him. He recognized, I can't win right now in Cleveland. I'm missing something. I'm not sure exactly what it is, so I'm going to go find what that is, and I'm going to bring it back to Cleveland. Us looking at it from the outside in would say, oh, that's horrible. I just can't believe he's doing that to us, right? He's looking at a much larger picture. He's looking so far down the road that he wants to bring something back, but he doesn't have the talent to do it, and he's got to go find it. So he finds it in Miami, he comes back, he brings it back to Cleveland, and then now he's done it with 3 teams.
Which is remarkable.
So, remarkable. Incredible. And is that a selfish person? Absolutely not. He knows he needs others to win.
No question. And the thing I would say is that, the debate between like Michael and LeBron will probably go on until the next person pops up, and then it'll be whoever that might be.
I don't even think there's a debate.
Who are you betting on?
No, because I don't. Because here's the thing. I believe we have to honor and respect the era. So if it's Pistol Pete, respect and honor that era. If it's, Wilt Chamberlain, respect and honor that era. When it's Michael Jordan, you respect and honor that era. When it's LeBron James, respect and honor that era. Kobe Bryant, respect and honor that era. Be satisfied with what you are seeing in this moment because everybody builds on each other.
Okay, I agree with that.
James without Michael Jordan.
I agree with that, but for those guys that are sitting around sitting on the couch talking about trying to decide who's better, in your mind, who's better?
I think it's relative. I think you can't. It's impossible to measure. Because
come on, John, it is.
I'm serious. Because there's too many variables.
Hang on a second, bro. Hang on. Put Michael in today's ball with his game. Put LeBron.
I can't do that.
Yes, you can.
I cannot do it. No, you can't do it. Cannot put Michael Jordan in today's competition. You can't do it. Let's take it out of basketball. Okay, out of basketball. Who's better? Because these are great questions, great dialogues, and they're only great dialogues because of that. Because we can only put it in myth. We can only put it in what our minds would think about with all these different factors and variables. So if I take Usain Bolt and I put him in 1936 against Jesse Owens, who wins? You can't measure that because the technology, which has gone from Jesse Owens to Usain Bolt, is too different. Usain Bolt can start with starting blocks. Jesse Owens dug his starting blocks. Didn't have the shoe dynamics that we have today. We have shoes right now that are built like prosthetics. They're banning them because people are jumping farther and running faster in them because of the technology that we have in the shoes. The running surfaces are synthetic now. The spikes, the grips, the automation, everything is totally different. The floors in the NBA are totally different from Michael's day to LeBron's day. You have to honor and respect the era that somebody's in because if you don't, here's what happens. We get into a space of entitlement. And entitlement is deserving something that you have not yet earned. Deserving something you haven't earned.
That's the world that most young athletes live in today.
That is absolutely correct. And I'm saying that us as leaders have to really challenge that and say, when we talk about the new normal in today's terms, right? I look at the new normal. I've been saying this term for 20 years now, 20 plus years. We'll get into that story, I'm sure. And the reason why people are saying the new normal now is because they really don't have anything to hang on to. They're looking at the new normal as a destination. When we get through, we'll date the show, COVID, then we'll be at, I can't wait till we get back to normal, or I guess this is our new normal. And I totally disagree with that philosophy of thinking. And the reason why is because when you look at the word new and the word normal, new means no prior point of reference. No prior point of reference. How many people have lived through an era of total economic shutdown globally? None of us. So therefore, there's no point of reference that we can actually rely on to help us understand what our future state might be. So be satisfied with new. In basketball terms, we might say the prior point of reference is the person at the free throw line. If I'm thinking about the last 10 shots I missed, I'm living in my past mindset. If I'm thinking about, you know what, these 2 shots will determine the outcome of the game, I'm living in a future mindset. I need to live in my new present moment right now with these focus on this 1 shot and this second shot. And if I can get kids to understand to live right there, then they take over the world because they're not thinking about a past performance. And anytime we start looking at past performances, we're not living in a reality because we can't, because that's already passed.
Very well said, John. Very well said. Very on point. One of the things that I do with athletes that I coach is tell them that forget about the past, next play mentality, but don't worry about the future. Coach might take you out. You might get injured.
Right.
You might get a targeting call and not even get to play this fourth quarter.
Right.
So where should your focus be? Next play. The play you're in right now. Right now. Because that's the only play that matters.
That's right.
And if guys want to get in the zone, if guys want to get in the flow, if guys want to play to the best of their God-given ability on that particular play, if they want to be clear-minded and have great instincts and make the play, your mind's got to be on now.
It's got to be on now. With any given Sunday, right? It was the Chino character. It's a game of inches. Because it's in that moment. You have to be in and on target in that moment.
Well, Pro Mindset has 7 components, and I'm not going to go through them, but the last one is competitive performance, and that is, can you make plays? Are you a clutch performer? Mm-hmm. It's not did you practice it, because of course you practiced. It's not whether you can do the skill, because most likely you can do the skill. In basketball, everybody can shoot a free throw. The question is, when the clock's got 1 second on it and you're down 1 and you got 2 shots, can you make them both to win the game?
Mm-hmm.
Can you make one that you've got right now just to tie the game?
Yeah.
Or are you thinking about the outcomes? And you thinking about what your coaches might say, the media might say, your teammates might say if you miss?
Right.
Well, that's not going to serve you well. You have to be in the moment of just making that free throw. It could be in the NCAA finals. It could be in the NBA finals. It could be whatever. You can magnify it in the biggest game ever. It doesn't matter. Still 15 feet. The ball's still the same. Goal's still 10 feet in the air.
And can we operate in that micro moment and those small instances for the win?
And how often do guys and girls, competitors, not do it and later on go, man, I could do that 95% of the time. I just didn't do it when I needed to.
Right.
Well, where was your mind when you needed to?
I mean, there was a guy later on when I went to the games. He was faster than me. I beat him in the 200, beat him in the 100, and arguably should have been a better long jumper than me. And I won, and he didn't make the finals. So it's all about that mindset. It's all about that. And can you do it on the day with all eyes on you? And you got, for me in the long jump, 6 jumps against the best in the world that you've been training for 4 years. It comes down to that.
Trained for 4 years for 6 reps.
For 6 reps.
Yeah, that's crazy. So that just accentuates how important your mindset is, because even if you look at the beginning of that timeline and you're 4 years out from the next Olympics, if you're thinking about the Olympics, I mean, you're not going to make it to the Olympics. You have to think about that day and what you want to accomplish that day, and what are your mini goals that you want to accomplish so that you can be ready in 4 years.
That's right. And so I say it this way. If Olympians and Paralympians are training 4 years from today, the way they're training today, they've already lost the gold medal.
Yeah. It's an evolution.
It's an evolution. And that's the mindset.
Okay, so let's go to John. Let's go to you. Let's take it from you're at the University of Arkansas. You are a Razorback. You've been successful in track and field, and now you graduate. Where are you going?
Well, originally I was going to try to go – I graduated with a degree in television and radio television programming and production. I had a job offer down in Mississippi, and I forego that. I didn't take that job because I didn't have track and field out of my blood. I wanted to get out of school. I wanted to graduate, and so my senior year took a bit of a hit. I still went to the Olympic trials and did well in the Olympic trials, but I still wanted to run and see if I could actually make an Olympic team. The United States Army has what's called a world-class athlete program. Who knew? And this world-class athlete program allowed a soldier athlete to train for 3 years prior to the next Olympic Games. So I signed up with Uncle Sam to try to get on this program. And I did. I made the program. But on the way to my training, which was going to happen in Presidio, San Francisco, Operation Desert Shield, Desert Storm came up. And I was diverted to the Gulf War. And I'd served 6 months with the 6th to the 27th Field Artillery Unit, multiple launch rocket systems out of Fort Sill, Oklahoma. And when I came back, I just could not run the high hurdles anymore. I was just off a rhythm. There was less than a year-ish, a little bit over a year to make try to make the trial standard for the Olympic Games. So I switched, and my coach had me switch from the 110-meter high hurdles to the 400-meter hurdles one time around the track. So remember, I was a 300-meter hurdle champion in Illinois. So I switched the events, and in my 5th race ever, I qualified for the Olympic trials. And in my 6th race, I finished up 17th in those trials out of about 54 hurdlers that had qualified. So I was like, oh my gosh, I have a new event. This is it. I can do this. I can see a pathway to the Olympic Games and possibly a medal on this stand. I could see it in my eyes. So packed
Hold
up.
on one second, John.
Yep.
What does that look like? When you
mean?
say you can see it in your eyes and you can see that pathway, what does that mean for the person that's never had that feeling before?
Yeah, so what that means is, you have a moment when you just know something is going to be true, and no one can take that from you. It becomes your vision. See, people, when we have visions, a lot of people are careless with their vision because they start telling their vision to other people who can't see the vision. The vision is only for you, and other people can kind of help support you to it, but they can't see it for you. You can't transfer a vision to somebody else. The vision is yours. And so what I could see in my vision was me making the Olympic team in 1996. I knew it was going to just happen. All I had to do was just do the work to go from, just right over 50 seconds in the 400-meter hurdles to get myself down to about 48 flat. So it's 2 seconds that I wanted to come down over the course of 4 years. And I thought if I could just improve my time just a half a second a year, I could make it, with the 3rd year probably being the hardest to shave another half second. So let's get 49.5 in 1993, 1994. Let's get 49 flat. Let's get 48.5 in 1995. And then by 96, we'll see what happens, and let's get on the team. So that was my trajectory that I had planned out. And in 1994, I was there. I just ran my first sub 50-second hurdle race. I was punching on 49.5, and I figured by the end of the year I'd be down to like the 49.3-ish by the end of that year. And then tragedy struck.
So tell us about the tragedy. Changed your life.
Changed my life. So here I am. I'm Gulf War veteran. I love the military. I'm going to be a lifer. I've taken the officer selection battery test. I've been boarded for officer candidate school, and I'm about to go to officer candidate school. I've been recommended for it. I'm in Fort Sill, Oklahoma now. I'm stationed in Germany, but I'm now temporarily duty in Fort Sill for the Army track and field team. I've just run my first sub 50-second hurdle race. The buses just stopped 2 weeks prior to the Armed Forces Championship. We're in Hays, Kansas. The wind's blowing pretty hard out there that day, and I'm doing my shakeout. Now, the 400-meter hurdle is one time around the track. There's 10 hurdles. There's a 45-meter lead into the first hurdle, which most athletes take that in 21 steps to the first hurdle. And I lead over my right leg. And then 13 steps usually down the back stretch. So I always leave my right leg on the odd number. But with the wind blowing hard, I'm having trouble with my steps. Now, I'm approaching each hurdle at 8.7 meters per second to about 19 miles an hour. And with the hurdles coming up, sometimes right leg, sometimes left leg, and hurdles as in life, you just want things to stay the same. So I approached the first hurdle on my last proverbial pass. Right leg is leading. I'm on. My steps are on. I get 13 steps. The second hurdle, right leg is leading. I'm still on. When I approach the third hurdle, the Kansas wind kind of pushes against my body, but I push back against the Kansas wind. And I said, I'm going to make it. And 6 steps out, I said, I'm not going to make it. So I'm going to have to jump off of my right leg and cross the hurdle with my left leg. I'll run out of it and try it again. So off the right leg, I go across the hurdle with my left leg, and I hit the ground, and I hear this sound. And my body sails and twists in the air, and my shoulders hit the ground. They find the ground, and I bounce to a halt. And when I look down, I look at my shoulders are okay, my waist is okay, but when I saw my knee, my patella tendon had risen 3 inches up my femur bone. My left leg was now canted across my right leg, dislocated, and my foot was touching the black surface of the track. And I just, in that moment, before the pain comes in, there's like this micro moment, this split moment of life either flashing before you or what's, kind of come up, and all these things were just kind of flying through my head. And the only thing I could think about at that moment was just get up. Just you can do it. Just get yourself up. It's not that bad. Just get yourself up, John. You can get yourself up. And there was no way. The leg was totally hyperextended, totally dislocated. And it took, my teammates running around and trying to get me medical attention really fast. It took about 90 minutes for the ambulance to come. And I was put in the back and whisked off to Hayes Medical Center, where a doctor in a white lab coat took one look at me, took one look at my crooked leg, and said, "Well, Mr. Register, looks like you got a bit of a problem. I'm going to have to fix that." So he bore down that crooked leg, took 2 orderlies on my shoulders, and said, "We're going to do this on 3. And he got a good grip on my leg, and the orderlies had a good grip on me. And he said, 1, snapped the leg right back into place. And my knee ballooned up, got swelled up, and I kind of passed out. And I don't remember too much from that moment forward. I don't remember the medevac from Hayes to Wichita, Kansas to Wesley Medical Center. I don't remember too much of when Dr. Randy Mullins came in and was doing all these tests on my knee, because I was not getting a pulse reading from behind my kneecap into my foot. The artery had been damaged enough to where they had to do a vein graft operation. I really don't remember the vein graft operations. I don't remember when my wife arrived or my son got there or my mother arrived. All I remember was Dr. Mullins coming into the hospital room, and my wife is holding on to my left hand. My parents are on the opposite side of the bed. John Jr. is 5.5 years old. He's at the foot of the bed. And Dr. Mullins says, you got a tough choice to make. You can keep your leg, use a walker or a wheelchair for the rest of your life, or I can amputate your leg and you can use a prosthesis for the rest of your life. And what kind of choice is that?
John's decision to amputate his leg or not will be discussed in the next episode of Pro Mindset. Not doing this to be a cliffhanger for you. Just want you to spend some time thinking about what you need to amputate out of your life so that you can continue to grow and perhaps grow in a different direction. John's decision had a ripple effect, obviously, on his life, his health, his family, his friends, his future. And it became the defining moment of his life. Is there something that you could amputate that might be the defining moment in yours?
Thank you for listening to this episode of Pro Mindset. If you enjoyed this podcast, please subscribe, rate, and review this podcast. You can follow us on our website, promindsetpodcast.com, or on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at Pro Mindset Podcast. Thank you so much for listening. We'll see you the next time.